Hello and welcome back to the Squared Circle with me, David Alorca.
And me, Joe Ujula.
That's right, guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe button off the rip. Click that like button and let us know your thoughts on all that we speak about in the comments below. Now, listen, if you're in the boxing world, you must be living under a rock if you didn't hear the interviews from Mr. Chris Eubank Sr. Now, there's been a lot of hope that Chris Eubank Sr. would be in the corner of Junior, but it seems like there's no way in hell that it's going to happen. There was quite a few interviews that went down yesterday, and the first one that I listened to was a short clip of him basically calling his son a disgrace. Which is rather unfortunate from that perspective. When I first listened to that one, how did you feel, and how did you take that?
To be fair, I feel like the closer fight week comes, and fight night, there's gonna be more hostility because it's evident that Chris Eubank Sr. does not want this fight to happen, and it's sad because it's a unique relationship. A father and son relationship is unique, right? So it's sad that it's been deteriorated by the politics of boxing, and the politics of boxing being that Chris Eubank Jr. didn't want him to be by Senior's side forever. He didn't want Senior's hand to be held forever. So I think the growth of a man that Chris Eubank Jr. wants to become has annoyed Senior, frustrated Senior. And I think that is heavily pushed with this narrative of that he does not want this fight to happen. Now, he's been a bit contradictory. So first he started with he doesn't want Junior to fight at 160 because the weight's too much for him to make, right? But at the same time, Chris Eubank Jr. has been fighting at 160 for his last 5-something fights, I believe. Right? So it's like, which way do you want it? Then he's like saying it's dangerous for Conor Benn to move up. And it's really frustrating me, the narrative about Conor Benn's moving up 2 weight classes. Conor Benn has been fighting at 154, 155 in his last 2 fights. He's grown. His body grows by the years. The last competitive fight he's had at 147 is, I think it's around like two years ago now, right? Something like that anyway. So let's not force his narrative. We all know boxers move up in weights. They move up when they grow up, basically, right? But Chris Eubank Sr. is using that narrative as well. So I just think a part of me believes that he is still, I suppose, bitter about not being involved in Junior's camp, and he's still pushing the narrative. That's what I think anyway. But it's sad to see. What do you think?
Yeah, you know what? It's a tough one because I think when I saw that first one, that's what I was initially thinking. I looked at that and I was like, oh, yeah, look, obviously he's not under the tutelage of his father anymore, and that I think that's the narrative that Junior is basically spreading. That's the narrative that when Junior gave his side of the thing, he was like, I want to grow into my own person. I don't want to be in the shadow of my father for the rest of my life. I don't want him involved in everything surrounding me and surrounding my career in boxing. And so I kind of took it from that perspective when I saw that first one, and he was calling his son a disgrace for egging Conor Benn. But then when I watched the IFL TV interview, right, obviously he was there, Michael Watson was there, like there was a lot more emotion in it. You see what I'm saying? You could, for me, I think it will be evil for him to use, Michael Watson simply because he wants to be the manager of his son and he wants to be involved in his business affairs. I think there's depth to it from that perspective. I think there is a real look that rivalry between Chris Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn was so real. Like, I think for a lot of people that are young, I say like yourself, and even myself, right? we don't understand the gravity of what that was at the time and the impact that had on Chris Eubank Sr. I think when I watched through that interview, I could just see just the emotive nature of the fact that it still weighs heavy on him, especially that he had Nigel, he had Michael Watson right there, you know, and boxing has riveted through his family in so many ways. I think to put it down to a father's pride, I think it's much more than that. To be honest with you, I think he has, and I think life has shown Senior so much through losing a son, and so this life has shown him so much, right?
Yeah.
To the point where I think it's above simply being spiteful. I understand that like a lot of people don't understand or won't understand his position, and I'm not saying that his position is correct or incorrect. I'm just saying that I think there is substantial nobility in his position, and I understand where he's coming from because I don't think the fight is as dangerous as he does, but you don't know the mental scarring that he has, throughout the entirety of his career. So of course, he's 1 minute he's talking about Junior. And yeah, you're right. Junior had the last 5 fights at 160, but for a very long time, he's been saying that Junior is not a 160 fighter. Like,
Mm,
his fatherly instinct is to get him out of that 160. Me and you both watched him in his last fight against an absolute nobody. No offense, which I can't say no offense because that's actually quite offensive. But that's quite savage. So I'll take that back. But basically, against somebody who a lot of people don't know of and didn't really regard, and he looked drained. He
yeah.
looked like he was suffering in there, and so I can't sit here and say that I'm too far away from what Senior is saying here. His son shouldn't be fighting at 160, in my opinion. I think he should be fighting at 168. The problem is that they're killers in 168, and at the same time, at one, and at the same time, his dad is looking at it like, look, the promoters want him fighting at this weight because of money, and he understands the money. Yes, it's the money, the financial aspect, but it's the emotional, mental scarring that he's feeling. There's two sides of the story. One side of the story is he doesn't want his son to get hurt. Yeah, that's one
Mm,
side of the story. Yeah. The other side of the story is he doesn't want his son to hurt someone else. So when
mm,
he's then talking about Conor Benn, it's because he understands both sides.
yeah.
Being the hurt person, because you're looking at somebody like Mark Watson sitting there, and being the person that has committed the hurt, that has done it. And I think there's a lot of mental scarring in Senior because of that.
100%. With Senior, like I said, maybe part of it is because of him not being part of Junior's camp. You've mentioned because of the scarring. To be fair, I honestly think usually some people think it's either one way or the other. In this case, I think why can't it be both? I think that he's got multiple reasons. I think my reasoning, your reasoning as well, is fuel for his emotion right now. Look, with Senior, you hit the nail on the head right there, right? He's got a lot of mental scar. Everything around him. There's so many links with his reason as to why he doesn't want this fight to happen at 160 and June, he doesn't want June to fight because Conor Benn, his dad Nigel, Jeremy McLennan, that tragedy there. You got Chris Eubank Sr, Michael Watson, another tragedy. You even got his son Chris Eubank Jr, Nick Blackwell, another tragedy there. So there's so many links. As well as how can I forget he lost a son as well. So there's four major big tragedies involved and linked with Chris Eubank Sr.'s life. So you can understand where he's coming from, right? Only he knows what that is to feel. Four tragedies he's linked with. It's crazy. So, and we say you mentioned that it's probably less likely to happen with Conor Benn and Eubank Jr., which you are right. But if you're Senior, you can't get that point into Senior's head because of the stuff he's experienced. He might have felt at the time that none of this would happen. 4 big tragedies. Like even one of those tragedies in his life is extremely hard and scarring for someone to deal with, let alone 4. So you have to understand where the emotion is coming from, the anger, the crying. Every time he's with Michael Watson, he tears up because he remembers what happened that night, and it's not his fault. It's not his fault, but he still gives himself the blame for that. So he's just trying to protect his son. He's lost a son already, so I do understand that. What do you think Chris Eubank Jr. should do in this situation? Because he feels like, look, Cena said that it's to do with money, and of course it's to do with money. Like, this fight is a money fight. It's not a well-titled legacy, pound for pound type of fight. It's a legacy fight in terms of the name, the history of full British boxing. But it is a money fight at the end of the day. Do you agree that Chris Eubank Jr. is doing the right thing to make sure, he's getting paid? Because there's a short career boxing.
I can't talk about the nobility of whether he's correct or not. I just think, I think when it comes to, I think you made a very fair point there when you spoke about, I think it doesn't have to be my point versus your point. It could be a combination of both, which I think is true. But I think that your point exists because of my point. As in, he wants to manage Chris Eubank Jr.'s career because of everything that he went through, and because of the ways in which the promoters made money of the damage that he done to other people, that has psychological damage to him. So he wants to protect his son from that. It's not. I don't think it comes from an ego perspective. I think it comes because of what he's gone through, because of the tragedies, because of what he's seen boxing can do. He doesn't want the added dangers involved in it from that perspective. Look, the fight is going to go ahead. It's going to go ahead, and I would say Senior's not going to be there, but I could also see a world in which Senior is there. So, at the very last minute, not to help his son, but maybe to prevent something from happening. Maybe from that perspective, he might feel at peace to be there to stop it if something goes. Do you understand what I'm saying? I think
I
there
understand.
is a chance that could happen at a last ditch. But in terms of him being there and helping promote the fight, look, if it was a thing where Senior wanted some cash and he wanted to so on and so forth, listen, without a shadow of a doubt, Saudi would have paid big money to get Senior. So it's more. There is a lot more nobility in Senior not being there and saying that he's not going to be there. There is spot, because I am sure that he's been offered money. I'm sure that they would pay him handsomely to be in the corner, because it adds to the gravitas of the entire event. And the fact that he said no, it means that he's a man of principle from that perspective. But that being a man of principle doesn't change if on the day we end up seeing him in the corner, because I think that could be the last ditch effort from a father to try and help his son.
Look, we know Chris Eubank Sr. is one of the most honourable men in boxing, right? So he has admitted that money has chased him. He's chased money in the past before, but as he grows with maturity and wisdom, he realizes it's not about money. Look, I don't think he's going to be there, to be honest. Look, the way he was speaking yesterday, he's calling this event a circus. And I think the worst feeling for a son and father relationship is for the father to be disappointed in the son, which you can tell he is. Especially with the egg smash scenario. He said, "Who taught you that?" I don't know who Karen is, by the way. He said, "Did Karen teach you that?" I'm thinking, is Karen the mom, like Chris Eubank Sr.'s mom? I don't know, by the way. Let me know in the comments who Karen is. But he was just saying, "Who taught you that disgrace?" I never taught you that. I taught you to be a honourable man, manners, politeness, principles, all that. But where have you got that from? That, and he was extremely emotional and disgusted by that. So I don't think he's going to be there. I think he's disappointed. I'm not sure if Chris Eubank Jr.'s. I'm sure he's offered. I'm sure he's tried to reach out, but I'm not sure if he tried to reach out being a corner man. like Nigel Benn will be for Conor Benn. So I hope that he did, because that would, I'm sure Cena would consider that, not being
Nah, Senior don't want to be part of the circus. In his mind, it's a circus.
yeah.
Senior's not. Senior don't want it. Senior don't want none of it.
But it goes
Senior
back to
wants
your point
absolutely none.
about being involved in the corner. Do you know what I mean? So if he's a cornerman, then he should be like, surely he'd consider it. No, do you think he even
Nah,
consider it? Do you think it just straight no? I'm not doing it.
he doesn't want to be involved. He doesn't want to be involved in the circus. That's why
Yeah.
I'm saying that. That's why I'm saying that. I wouldn't be surprised if he's there on the night as a last ditch effort, but he doesn't want to be involved in the circus. He want to be involved. If he's in the corner, it's part of the promotion. He is feeding the beast. He's feeding the circus that is, and he doesn't want to feed it. That's the long and short of it. That's the reality. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a yeah.
No, sorry, no, I hear it. So to cut you off, but he is involved in the circus. He's the cause of, like, not in
No,
terms
but he's
of
not involved in it. He's not involved in it in terms of he is not promoting it. He is not part of the
yeah,
promotion. Not
yeah,
involved in it from that perspective. His conscience is clear because he's not involved in the build-up of the circus. If he's in the corner, then he is part of it from that perspective. He's feeding the narrative that is born rivals and the two dads. Look at the two dads. One's in one corner, one's in the other. Like, that's the narrative that helps build and sells the fight. That promotes the quote unquote circus that he's speaking about. But I'm sure this might not be the last time that we hear from Senior ahead of the fight. I'm sure that during fight week, or maybe at some stage, he's going to try and get this plug pulled. But we've got a few days to go and the fight's going to go down. Let us know in the comments below what you think about this whole situation over here. What you think about the reasoning surrounding Senior not liking or not being a part of this fight happening. And let us know if you think the fight is even going to end up going down. The reason why I say that is I was right there at fight week the last time, or I should say the first time when it was supposed to happen, all the way down to the press conference day when it got locked off. So I've got fingers crossed that the fight happens, just because I'd like to see it. Obviously, I hope everybody goes to the ring safe, leaves the ring safe. But let us know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Joe, any last words?
no, man, all good. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe,
Fantastic.
all
Well,
that good stuff,
I speak
baby.
to Loka.
And I've been Joe Woodler.
You've been watching The Squared Circle, and we'll see you again next time.
Peace out, guys.